Hey, I'm Joey Dempsey. This is my project for information management, information systems, introductory to something. Anyways, the project was to design an information management system for a t-shirt company. They're a local small company right now and they want to move into a global platform. So I'm like, well, how do you make an information system? It sounds like there's a lot that goes into it. There is. It's really difficult. I don't recommend it. But I did find a 5-phase program, and that's how we're gonna do this project today. We'll see what happens. The first phase is planning. So I found this to be one of the harder phases. During the planning phase, you want to obtain a full understanding of the gaps the business needs to fill. What does the t-shirt store need to do to get online? I don't know. So I sat down and I started brainstorming, and I came up with a few things. See this giant thing right here? You probably can't read it. Hopefully you can't read it. I wish I couldn't read it. It's a ton of things that you need to consider when building an information system. I've attached this in the project that I emailed you. There's questions on here like, how do you train your staff? How do you hire people? How do you communicate with your customers? How do you even get online? How do you create a terms of use agreement? How do you deal with shipping? How do you deal with returns? How do you keep your data safe? How do you deal with orders? There's just so much on here, and it's very overwhelming. So after I made this, I moved to step 2. Step 2 is analysis. So in the analysis phase, we begin to create a list of specifications and requirements for this system. We need to establish some protocols. So then I started answering some of the questions that I had on this giant board. And while I started to answer questions, I was able to start grouping things together. How do we train staff? How do we keep internal resources safe? How do we do payroll? How do we communicate internally? How do we keep information safe? Kind of a simple answer, or at least a common answer. Everybody needs to have access to some sort of web-based, secure server. So I'm like, okay, so that's how we deal with internal stuff. We also need to establish protocols for dealing with customers, dealing with suppliers, dealing with transporters. We need to create an efficient platform so that we can communicate with them all effectively. The customers get good customer service, and everybody's happy. Oh my God, I gotta put this down. Moving on to phase 3. So phase 3 is design. In the design phase, this was more of a fun one for me because I got to draw some pictures. Now we start putting things together. We start building our platforms with our established set of protocols. For this, it's important to understand the flow of communication. So what better way to understand the flow of communication than to create a communication flow chart? So on this flow chart, this is the broad flow of a customer order. So you probably can't see this. Again, I'll attach it in the project. But the order goes from the customer to the database to the t-shirt store, and then they confirm the order. They have to send stuff to transportation, supplier, back to the customer to confirm their order. They have to make sure that they get a way bill and it's going to get there on time. They have to make sure that the supplier is going to supply it on time. It's a lot of effort that just goes into one order. So that's why it's so important to have an effective information system. This is only the beginning. There are countless other diagrams that can be used to illustrate this information system. If you would like to see something considering safety, here's another picture. So, how are we going to keep internal information safe? Well, there's the internet. There's the store terminal. We got that internal server in the middle of it all. A big old firewall. That'll be the thing that keeps your data safe. Phase 4, implementation. So now we need to actually start doing all of this stuff that we just designed. We're going to make these new platforms go live. We need to hire people. We need to allocate resources. We need to create a terms of use agreement for our website, which, by the way, also felt like making another fun thing. Here is a very simple terms of use agreement that I've developed for the website. We're going to focus on a phased in, phased out approach when we're launching this information system so that we don't have to deal with any downtime, because we can't afford that. Nobody has time for that. And then assuming everything is working, you let it go live. Let the customers start making orders and see what happens. And the final phase, maintenance. So you need to make sure that all of this stuff stays working. If it doesn't stay working, there's no point in making this in the first place. We need to establish milestones so that we know when to check in and make sure that this project has actually been successful. We need to make sure that it's doing its job correctly. So we need to look back at our original goals and match them up to make sure they are aligning. And we also need to make sure it's worth it. Are we blowing the budget on this, or, is it actually going to save us money? It's pretty easy to tell when something like a software is working though, because you're going to get a lot of user feedback, whether it's from your staff or the customer is buying it. They're going to tell you if something is the matter. So you make adjustments and you carry on. And that is a really good design of an information system. To address a couple of other questions that didn't make it into my 5 phases, what e-commerce strategies will you be using for your success? Based on my findings, I would recommend creating a subscription program. It's going to help generate repeat business with clients that you already have. That's the way that a lot of marketing firms are going right now. And it's a really profitable solution if done correctly. My other recommendation would be to pay professionals when you need professionals. Get a marketing firm to make your website, get them to handle your stuff for you so that you have time to run the business like you're supposed to. And one last question, what emerging technologies could be used to enhance our system? Mainly the use of mobile devices, I would have to say. You want to create a nice app that's really easy to use for people. You can use technology like augmented reality, so they can hold up their phone and take a picture of themselves and see the outfit on them. I don't know, it's nerd stuff. But there's lots of cool stuff you can do now on your phones. And then of course, staying active on social media. Everybody's on social media nowadays. You need to have a good presence on social media. It really hurts your business if you don't, because that's the first place where a lot of people go for information. Otherwise, I have no further recommendations for this t-shirt company. And thank you for watching my project.